Welcome to Vin and Mike, episode 26 on a Wednesday. Our first Wednesday episode. Mike, how are you?
This is our first Wednesday episode, as a matter of fact, right? Because
on
Monday or Tuesdays.
Wait. The reason we weren't on Monday, of course, is very easy. 4th of July. And yesterday was a happy birthday, Mike. It's a belated happy birthday.
Okay. Thank you, Vin.
Yesterday was Mike's birthday. He turned 65, so, he's looking good for a 65-year-old.
No gray hair.
The oldest millennial in America. Still going.
Millennial in the United States. Yeah.
That's it. But
thank you.
Wednesday.
Great weekend.
Pretty cool.
Great all-around weekend. Weather was great here in New Jersey. Had some beach time, good food, family, friends. It was everything, so awesome. Yeah. And then glad to be here with you today, talking sports.
All the time, man. A lot of fun stuff. I can't wait for our announcement tomorrow night / Friday.
We got a very big announcement tomorrow or Friday latest. The future of this show. Yeah, it is very exciting, and it's going to take us in a very, very good direction. So.
Yeah, we'll be very excited for everyone to tune into Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media platform that you follow us on. We'll have the announcement there probably Friday morning. It could potentially be Thursday night, but most likely Friday morning. But before we get into everything, I got to do our little sponsor, our good friend Viggy Betts, who Vin and Mike is now brought to you by Viggy Betts. Check out Viggy Betts on Twitter and Instagram at Viggy Betts. If you DM him right now, you're a fan of Vin and Mike, you'll receive a 14-day free trial on a new VIP membership. And like always, he's doing some pretty cool giveaways on his Twitter. He's been doing $50 to $100 giveaways, basically on home runs for that night. So I think he's taken like one player, for instance, let's say Aaron Judge. And if Aaron Judge hit a home run that night, he'll give away X amount of dollars. He's been doing various players, various people. So all that has been what he's been doing. So check him out when you get a chance, everybody. Viggy Betts, again, Twitter and Instagram. But let's jump right into it. The big news today, something we've been talking about on the show for a long time. Mm-hmm. And there was rumblings of Seattle a couple of weeks ago, and we saw some of that. But as of today, and pending on his physical, I think tomorrow, Baker Mayfield will head to Carolina, be part of the Panthers. In return, the Panthers are sending a 5th-round pick, which can turn into a 4th-round pick if he starts X amount of games or a certain amount of plays. They basically split his salary. I heard that it's like $10 million to Cleveland, $5 million to the Panthers, and he waived $3 million, something to that effect. But ultimately, Mayfield to the Panthers. Sam Darnold is there, same draft class. Now they're teammates. They drafted Matt Corral this year. So a pretty packed quarterback locker room, an interesting Panthers team on their way to a 5-12 record. What do you think, Mike?
I think the best deal of all, take the Panthers aside, take the Browns, is Baker Mayfield. I mean, this guy wanted out, and for good reason, and he gets a fresh start over there. And they're getting an upgrading quarterback. And what I like, Vinny, is that, you look at the salary cap, the Panthers, they're only going to pay him $5 million. They got him for practically nothing, where Cleveland's going to take the rest of his salary, I think $10.5 million, right? It's really exciting. I think that with the whole Deshaun Watson fiasco, that just ruined it for him. And I thought about how he was treated. He did an amazing job in Cleveland. I mean, he changed the culture of that franchise, bringing a team that was in the cellar to a playoff team. And when he was injured, you saw how Cleveland treated him. So he really got I think, a great new start with a team that desperately needed a quarterback. We talked about it, Vinny, that he might go to Seattle. There were, what was going to happen? Was he going to stay in Cleveland? The Panthers really went on this, and what they have a great offensive line that he's going to have. And I didn't realize this, Vinny, but the first game is Carolina versus Cleveland, which is going to be awesome. Now, who's going to be Cleveland's quarterback? It's looking at this point that Deshaun Watson will be suspended indefinitely. I mean, it's looking that way not indefinitely for the season. But I think Baker made out great. I think the Cleveland fans have a lot of respect for him for what he did for that organization. And you know what? I think he'll have a fresh start there, and it's very good for Carolina. I think people said who wins here? Panthers, without a doubt. You agree with me? I mean, this is great for them and what they got, and what they paid.
Yeah, I mean, I think I looked it up before we came on the air just so I got a feel. He was 29-30 as the starting quarterback with the Browns. The one playoff appearance 2 years ago, but like you said, he was very injured last year, and I thought that really played a huge part in his regression. And he had multiple injuries, and I think that really did a lot to his total regression in his play. Getting Deshaun Watson, I understand the whole point of the upgrade there. Mm-hmm. There's of course a tremendous amount of question marks with him. We don't know, if he's going to get suspended, how long his suspension is going to be, and all that. So at this point, I don't think they can count on him for at least week one. It could be as long as 8 weeks, and the NFL is pushing for the entire season. So with all that being said, I think ultimately this was a really good trade for the Panthers because you know how Sam Darnold is. He's just not a guy that's shown to be a franchise guy. We thought maybe a fresh start in Carolina, get away from the Jets and what Adam Gase and all that stuff, but he really didn't show too much last year. He had a pretty decent start to the season, and then it just totally fell apart. I think Baker easily will win the job there. I think he'll have an opportunity to really prove himself moving forward. And then Matt Corral is probably the future potentially there. But we'll see. I mean, if Baker shows that he could take this team to the playoffs, I think at that point he'll definitely be due a franchise kind of quarterback salary and free agency. And then the Panthers have a good problem there. I think the other thing is this could be it for Sam Darnold. He might totally regress out. We'll see how he handles the competition and how it all plays out for him. But this could be it for him. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I was going to say two things. I mean, it's nice because he's getting Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, and I said that great offensive line that he's come into. But that's the question. Where does Darnold go from here? Will he find a home, or will they cut him? And do you think he could potentially go to Seattle? Is that you think that could happen?
I mean, like a trade now for him to Seattle? I don't know. So I was reading something pretty interesting about the whole Seattle situation, that Seattle was in on Baker, that they couldn't get a deal done. So they're playing like they were never in on Baker at all because they don't want to upset Drew Lock and Geno Smith. They want to make it like the job was always theirs. There's where the competition is, and we never really wanted Baker to begin with, but I'm hearing that they did want him. They were trying to figure out a way to get him, and I guess in the Carolina just worked out the better deal for Cleveland ultimately, and that's where he ended up. I think Darnold stays in Carolina one way or the other this year, and if he's a backup or potentially even wins out the job, which I can't see, and then we'll see where he goes from there. But I think this is a real tough time for him as we move forward into the season. I think it's really interesting. So, but we do have our first question today. I'm going to just pop it up there for you, Mike. So it's from our Facebook friend there, Vin Felice. He wants to know, Mike, where does Jimmy G go? Where do you think?
Not a lot of options here, Vincent, but I think at this point you think of the teams that need a quarterback, and we keep mentioning Seattle. So I think that could be a possibility for him, or he just sticks it out and with the 49ers right now. I think it's either that or the Seattle. That's what I truly think right now with Jimmy G.
Yeah, I doubt the Niners will trade him, in the division like that. But I don't know. Maybe Cleveland's a spot for him at this point, right? Now they get rid of Baker. Watson's going to Watson potentially gets suspended, right? So maybe Cleveland is the place for Jimmy G. I'd be interested in hearing what the 49ers actually feel about Trey Lance. I think that is something that's kind of interesting when it comes down to it, right? Is their feeling that he's going to guide them to that next level? Is he the kind of guy for them? I don't know. Maybe that's why they're saying they're waiting for Jimmy G to get healthy and make sure his shoulder was okay, coming out of surgery, and the teams wanted to make sure he was okay before they made any kind of trade for him. But maybe the Niners aren't 100% sold on Lance, and they're using that as a way of saying, well, teams aren't really interested in Jimmy because of the shoulder injury and the surgery, so we're just going to keep him and finish out his contract here. Maybe that is because they just don't trust Trey Lance at this point. So that's a possibility as well, when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
So, so I am really interested in seeing, how Baker does there. I keep thinking about McCaffrey, as you said. When you say that, I think he needs to stay healthy. Of course, he's had 2 horrific seasons where he's just not been healthy at all. But when he's healthy, the numbers he puts up are tremendous. I think he's the guy that they want to run the offense through and do the old play action kind of pass with Baker and running that Matt Rule rollout, kind of offense, that high flying RPO kind of thing. And we'll see how it all plays out. But I think McCaffrey is the guy when you really talk about it.
Yeah, and it's just amazing with this organization what they've done. They cut Cam Newton. They signed Teddy Bridgewater. They traded for Sam Darnold. Now they trade for Baker. So there's been so much going on there. Hopefully they found the key now. We'll see.
Yeah, well, as you know, the NFL is run on a franchise quarterback. You need a franchise quarterback in order to continue to move forward. And I just don't know if that's the guy right now. But we'll see. We'll wait and see how it all plays out as we move forward.
I have an interesting stat for you I saw this afternoon. So following the trade of Baker Mayfield to Carolina, only 2 number 1 overall picks since 1990, Luck and Russell ended their careers the team that drafted them. And obviously Myles Garrett, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, and Trevon Walker still TBD, but that's an incredible stat.
So what was it again?
So following the trade of Baker Mayfield, Carolina, only 2 number 1 overall picks since 1990, Luck and Russell ended their career with the team that drafted them.
Andrew Luck.
Yep.
And who, Russell?
I guess who was I'm trying to hold on. Was that a mistake? Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know who that.
Oh, I think he was messing Russell Wilson. I think.
No, he wasn't.
No, that can't be because he was just traded. I'm like losing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to find it.
Yeah. Okay. You lost your mind today.
I lost my mind. I'm sorry.
So Andrew Luck was a first overall pick. Yeah. He retired with the Colts, and then there was one other which we don't know right now. Well, Eli actually wasn't the first overall pick. No, he was the first overall pick, but he was the first overall pick by
trying to look at
Chargers. But So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who else it is,
I'll
but
try to find
you'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
All right. Again, we're opening our Q&A board today. So if you're on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, and you're watching the show, just go right into your chat there. Say hello, pop in a question. We'll pop you up on the board. We'll answer any questions you have. NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever you want to ask, we'll answer and have fun. If you're following us on any social media or you want to know where to follow us, Instagram, we have Vin and Mike Podcast. Twitter, we have Real Vin and Mike. And then we have our Facebook page, Vin and Mike Podcast as well. So you can follow us wherever you like, and we appreciate it. If you're listening to us on any of the services, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, all that great stuff that comes along with that as well. I want to jump into a very interesting situation with the Nets. I think that's real interesting when we really look at it. I thought Kyrie signing his opt-in was something he wanted to do because I think he still thinks he could get himself in a situation where he gets traded and all that. So I wasn't too shocked with that. What I was shocked with, of course, and I think I want to hear a lot of how you're feeling about all this, is Kevin Durant going to ownership and asking for the trade. He didn't even go to Sean Marks. He went right to ownership, asked for the trade. They're going to take their time, of course, making the trade because he's locked into that long-term deal that they signed him until last year. He's got a very long-term deal. They can figure out what value to get back from them. They'll be looking at some of the other trades that have gone down and all that. They don't have to trade him to any team that he's asking for because it's just not the way, it works for the Nets at this point. So I think they're going to look for the best deal out there. But I want to know some of your thoughts on these players and, them trying to dictate, a lot of what the league does and all that.
Yeah, listen, the league has changed over the years. And, now it's all about these super teams, right? Look how fast that Nets thing was and how it collapsed so quickly, right? KD may be the best offensive player right now, but when you do stuff like this, it's going to hurt your legacy, right? And I think that players have to learn to stay with this. I was just having this conversation before about Steph Curry. And what's respectful about Steph Curry, as we talked about this last podcast, Vin, is that he won championships with the Warriors, with KD, without KD, and by himself, okay? He stayed on a team even when they won 15 games. It seems like the trend now with some of these guys is if they don't win a championship or something else happens, they want out right away. And I agree with you. I wasn't surprised about Kyrie. It seemed like any owner wants to stay away from him right now. But with KD, it just, he's doing the same kind of thing, and it just looks terrible. It really does. And then you ask yourself, well, who wants him now that he does this, right? What's going to happen? You invest all the money, then he wants out again? Where's the trust factor? That's why, listen, I love the NBA. I will continue to watch the NBA. I'm a diehard Knicks fan. But this stuff is happening more and more. And we want to try to stay away from these super teams and have good matchups. And that's pretty much the summary here.
Yeah. And I just realized as you were speaking, Jamarcus Russell ended his career with the Raiders, who they drafted him first.
That's right. Thank you.
That's who it was. Even though we don't talk about that around here. We don't remember Jamarcus Russell at all. The only reason he ended his career with the Raiders because nobody in their right mind wanted him.
Okay, that's why I couldn't think of it.
Talking about that,
players.
Just talking about that real quick.
Yeah.
With again, people didn't watch Jamarcus Russell because he just didn't want to put the time and effort in the whole thing.
Yeah.
What do you think the disconnect is with Kyrie? A lot of people think it's the vaccine, stance. A lot of people think it's his nonchalant way of not overly caring about basketball, when the game is over and how he talks, non-basketball items. I think a lot of it for me, and I'm just going to say for me, I think a lot of it is how, he takes like a week off. He has these little injuries that he sits out for a while. I think there's a lot to him just not being 100% dedicated to basketball in various ways. And I think that's where a lot, I don't know if it's the players, I don't know if it's the coaches, but I think it's a combination of things that why there's a little disconnect with this guy when it comes to everything. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think, Vinny, I think it's a mix of everything. But you know what? When you have to represent yourself as the best player on the court or something that people look up to, you have to have a certain maturity about it, right? And, the problem is when you start going on, again, social media and complaining and wanting out, that stuff catches up with you. I mean, I just look as a Knicks fan, I look at Julius Randle when he gave like the thumbs down or whatever he did on the court, right? These guys have to learn in professional basketball, getting paid millions of dollars, that you're going to get booed. Fans are going to say things that you don't like. But you got to keep your head up into the game. And I think these guys get mesmerized by that. Like they can't stay focused, right? So I think Kyrie is going in all these different directions. But if you want to be a winner and have that focus, I mean, that's what you're looking for. You have to be focused 110% of the time. That's why Michael Jordan, right? He thrived off the Madison Square Garden crowd booing him. The Reggie Millers out there, right? So you take those two players. They just wanted to win so bad. It was all about winning. It was all about winning. And now it's just like, oh, we lose. Who do I complain to? Or I want to be traded. So it's just not right. And I understand it's a business. I understand it's a business. I do. I understand everything in life is a business, and you have a certain amount of time to get paid X amount of dollars. You want to have the best value possible. But to truly be considered, one of the best or looked upon by fans in good standing, you have to act a certain way. Even in football, remember the whole Kyler Murray thing, right? Going on Instagram, right? That's going to stay with you, right? So you have to think as a professional athletes, and, agents should really be helping, or friends just saying, listen, what you put on social media and what you put out there doesn't go away. So you always have to present yourself in a professional manner. The vaccine thing didn't help either, for sure, because that was stuff that just, permeated around him. But it's just between these two guys. You just look at the Nets and how much they invested, and now it just blew up like that, just like that.
Yeah, and I think, again, when I think about older players in the NBA, they were friends off the court, and they're still friends to this day. The friendship of Patrick Ewing and Jordan,
yes,
and Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. You can go through all these guys. They're really good friends, but when they were on the court, they wanted to beat each other. They wanted to win against each other. They never wanted to play with each other. They never thought of that process. And I don't know, a lot of people say, LeBron changed it. A lot of people say, when Garnett and Pierce and Ray Allen played together, that's what, changed it. But again, I don't think those guys necessarily went to play with each other to be friends. They went to play with each other to win championships on top of it. I think guys now are just wanting to play with each other because they're buddies and want to hang out or and other things. I don't think some of these guys are even looking to play together to win, because honestly, if Durant wanted to play with guys and win, he would have just stayed in Golden State. He would have had max contracts there. He could have stayed there, played with Steph and Clay and Draymond for basically the rest of his career, because the way the NBA salary cap works, you can sign all these guys, you pay there. So I think he stepped away to try to go someplace else and show that he could do it himself. And they brought Harden in and Kyrie. Nothing meshed there. They were all injured, away from the game, all the different stuff that's happened over the last few years. And then I think Harden has slowed down a little bit, his game is taking a step back a little. Maybe he'll prove us wrong going into this season. Kyrie, like I said, I just he's always, to me, seems like he doesn't even want to be playing. When he's on the court, there's times he looks like the best player in the league, and then the next day he's talking about things that make no sense, and he's out for 2 weeks, right? So
Right.
I don't know if that's the other reason that Durant wants out from the Nets, that maybe he told ownership, I didn't want you guys to bring Kyrie back.
What
I wanted you to sign and trade him. Now he's opted in, and now I got to play with this guy again. I don't want to do that. Again, I don't know if that's the facts, but that all coincide together, right?
Yeah.
He opted in, and then 2 days later, Durant wants out. So, you think about some of that stuff as well on top of it. So, I look at that as a whole.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what owner do you think is going to take a chance on him?
On Kyrie?
Yeah.
James Dolan?
Good one, James.
He'll get right on the train there and drop himself off at Penn Station and say, hey, here I am.
Do you think Steve Nash takes any of this blame? I mean, do you think any blame is put on him? When you look at what he did as a coach to really
I'll be honest, I didn't like the way they ran their offense a lot of times last year. I thought it was very stale. I didn't like his substitution patterns and all that. So I think his coaching needs some work. At the same time, he didn't have his 3 best players playing together. I think it was 8 games they played together last year, something like that. It was a very low number that all 3 of them played together. So, it's hard to blame a coach when he doesn't have his 3 superstars, and that's who the team's built around. The other guys are role players, and they have to play a role, right?
Right.
Your superstars aren't there. So what role now are your role players playing? Now Bruce Brown's going to have to score 20 points a game now. This guy's, what's his name? Patty Mills now has got to play 30 minutes when you only wanted him to play 15. So there's a lot of those little things, I think, that hurt Nash. But again, at the same time, I'm not going to 100% say because those 3 guys weren't playing together that he's not one of the reasons. I didn't like a lot of the things they did on the court. I didn't like the way they set their offense. I thought his substitutions were bad. I thought he took too long to take certain guys out of the lineup and make adjustments. And I think it really showed in that Boston series. His lack of adjusting to Boston, I think cost them that series. And of course, Durant and Kyrie. More Durant didn't show up in that series. Let's be truthful. He had a very bad series against the Celtics. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. What do you think about Nash?
I mean, listen, I don't think he improved. I don't think he improved them. I mean, when you have that, I understand that there were problems and gaps and then not playing together, but I don't think he united that team. And I agree with you on the substitutions. Like, I didn't understand some of it, right? When your team was going on a run and then you would take people out. I just feel that they weren't at the right time. They were inept. And it just showed on the court. And that series against Boston, yes, 100%. Like, that's where it showed the most for me. And as a coach, and you have that kind of caliber, you have to have the right chemistry to make it work. And he did it.
Yeah. And I know, just to jump real quick with Durant again, I know that Chris Paul and Booker is where he wants to go. I know he wants to go to Phoenix. They win 64 games.
Yeah.
He knows he goes there with those guys, and he's able, to have a little better relationship, and maybe feels his game will do better with Chris Paul running the point, being a real true point guard, not someone that's looking to shoot the ball 30 times a game as well, right? And sharing the offensive load more with Booker, and maybe that's where he wants to go. But what can Phoenix give back, right? And I think that has a lot to do with it. I'm reading a lot of things that a lot of these teams that are really interested in Durant don't have things to give back. So you're gonna have to bring a third team in to do like a 3-team trade. So, but you know how the NBA is. You'll have 5 teams involved in some trade. You'll have draft picks from 2037 that go in this draft, and you'll go, what are we going to do with that draft pick? But that's the way they do things. They end up trading like 20 draft picks for years out, and you forget that you don't have a draft pick when the draft comes around that year.
Yeah. I had to say something funny. What do you think Ben Simmons is thinking right now?
He's trying to figure out if he's ever going to play basketball again. I mean, that's the other thing, right? So the Nets have Ben Simmons and Kyrie. Remember, they still have Kyrie.
Yeah.
And they still have Durant. They haven't traded anyone. So I don't know. Simmons is, first of all, he's got to get back on the court himself. Is he mentally ready, to be back? And if he is mentally ready, which it seemed like he was towards the end of last year, but he was having some of those physical ailments. His back was bad and all this stuff. So I think again, is it all related to his mental being and all that? I don't know, but he needs. I mean, Ben Simmons. He can't shoot past 15 feet. He's not a great NBA shooter. He's a long rangy guy. He can drive the ball. He can distribute. He can play defense. Yeah. He can do all those other things but score. Right? He's not a guy that's going to be score. So they need a guy like Kyrie or Durant to stay there and play with him. But at this point, it looks like either the Nets are going to trade both. It looks like they're definitely going to trade Durant, and then we'll see if Simmons is even ready to play. I at this point, the Nets can't count on anyone. They lost Bruce Brown in free agency. They lost Andre Drummond. I think they kept Patty Mills, but again, Patty Mills to me is a 20 minute a night kind of player. So there's a lot there that they have to work on. So we'll wait and see what comes out.
Time will tell.
Yeah. And then our beautiful Knicks. And I think it started for me when the Spurs.
They started in 1986 for you?
When the Spurs traded Murray for 3 first-round picks. And I keep going back to you saying, we have flexibility, financial flexibility, 11 first-rounders over the next 7 years. You're telling me we couldn't trade 3 of those guys for Murray? And I'm sorry, they threw Gallinari in who they were going to cut anyway. So we could have thrown in anybody else for them to cut, and we couldn't get a 20-8 point guard that would fit in perfectly, and also sign Jalen Brunson and then have them both to go along with Garrett and Randall and Mitchell Robinson and everyone else. I mean, I don't get what happened there. I just can't. It's every time a team makes a trade and we have the same kind of assets to give back and don't pull that trigger. And is it we're not involved? Is the Spurs not calling us? Are we not calling them? I mean, what is going on? What is going on?
No, and Vinny, this is not the first time. It happens over and over and over again. And as I said last week, even with the whole Jalen Brunson thing and how there was a rumor, now it's happened. I'm not saying Jalen Brunson is a bad player. He was very good on Dallas. He was, great with Luka. The problem is that Jalen Brunson is not an A player. He's not. I'd put him at BB+. The Knicks were acting like, he was this AA+ player, putting all your money into it for Jalen Brunson. And what do you still have on the Knicks? You still have a Julius Randle you got to get rid of. And you really have to think of that combination of who's going to take, what's going to be fair for these other teams. And it's, again, in that draft, Sacramento had the 4th pick. The Knicks tried to trade up, and Sacramento said, there's no one that we want on your team. There's no one that's really interesting to us. And they put themselves in these situations. And then the bull about, Yeah, the Knicks have all these first-round draft picks, but the team's been bad for 20 to 25 years. People don't want to wait. It's enough already. Do something now.
So
They kept talking about Donovan Mitchell. That's someone that you go after. You be aggressive about it. It could have happened.
So my brother texted me, I don't remember when, but he asked me, since Ewing left it was 2000, right? He last year was 99, right? 2000?
Last year around, yes, he played 15 years. Yeah.
I looked it up. I don't remember the year exactly, but I looked it up. They've been in the playoffs 6 times in the last 22 years. And they had a nice little 3-year run with Carmelo in the mid-2000s there, right? But they have won 1 playoff series in the last 22 years. 1 playoff series since Patrick Ewing left the team. This team is an absolute joke over the last 22 years. And that's the bottom line. They've been in the playoffs 6 times in 22 years, and you won 1 playoff series. I mean, you're a laughing stock of the NBA. And they want to know why guys don't want to sign free agent contracts here, why guys don't want to come here. And, it's New York, it's the Mecca. It's the Mecca of what? The Mecca of mess. I mean, nobody wants to come here. And then you try to get these guys to come here. And again, like you said, they sign B players, B, they draft F players, I mean, RJ Barrett, we'll see what he turns into, but he's right now a B kind of player. I mean, you look at these guys, it's like we don't have a legitimate superstar, a guy that you could say, I want to go to Madison Square Garden and watch this guy play every time he's there.
Nope.
You go out to Yankee Stadium, Aaron Judge. You go out to Citi Field, Pete Alonso. There's somebody that you want to go watch play baseball in New York. There's no one in Madison Square Garden on that hardwood floor that you want to go watch every night. It's terrible. It's terrible, and they've shown nothing so far in this offseason draft. I don't care all the stupid picks that they have. Like you said, Jalen Brunson would be wonderful if we could get Karl Anthony Towns.
Right, you have to align him with another player like a Luka.
Yeah,
you have to give him that opportunity.
Give us somebody. We couldn't even get Zach LaVine. I mean, someone. I don't know. It just drives me crazy. I think we're going to be talking about this forever and ever and ever. So we still have
to go to a game this year.
I'll give you a question right here. Here you go. From good old Corey.
Corey.
Is it better to be a Browns fan or a Knicks fan?
Wow, this is a tough one. Oh man, I mean, right now, believe it or not, I would have to go Browns. I mean, I hate saying that, but there's still a slim chance because
there's superstars there.
Because you have actual players.
Myles Garrett's a superstar.
Yep, and they could still, with the whole thing, which they still could get a quarterback. They still
have Watson.
They still have him, right? So,
I mean, even if he's suspended for a year, he's still back next year. Yeah. There's still upside. There's no upside as a Knicks fan.
I got to tell you something funny. I think I watched finally that Jeremy Lin documentary. 2012.
Yeah, the 20 games of him becoming a multimillionaire.
And that's the other thing. Like, when you look back at the last 20, 25 years, and that's one of the top moments. And I mean, listen, that was a great thing to watch, but come on, that was a 20-game span, right? It was awesome, though. It was really
and what people forget is he had that whole insanity when Melo was hurt.
Correct. People do not talk about that.
And then Melo came back, and he couldn't play with Melo. right? He just couldn't because Melo wants to shoot the ball. And he couldn't distribute. He couldn't do all the other things that they needed him to do. But he ended up making a ton of money. I think he signed actually the deal with the Nets. I think it was like a 4-year, $40 million deal with the Nets.
He did very well for himself. And it was awesome watching play. I remember that game in Toronto when he hit that last second shot and Mike Breen was just going crazy. I mean, everyone was going crazy.
It was a fun time. That's what we want. And again, we had Melo. We had a superstar, a player there. We couldn't find anyone to really put around him.
Right.
But at least we went to the playoffs 3 straight years. Yes, they only won 1 playoff series in those 3, but they were there. They were competing. They had opportunities to put guys around him, and they never did. And that's the thing that worries me. Yes, maybe we go out and get Karl Anthony Towns or this guy or that guy. I don't even know who it'll be. But then you sit there and go, are they going to able to put other guys around them? They had John Starks and Anthony Mason and 80-year-old point guards around Patrick Ewing for years. Finally, when they got other players to put around them, Patrick was on his last leg, on his way out the door anyway. And that's what you're afraid that, yes, okay, now they're going to go get superstars, and then they don't know what to do to build around them.
Yeah, I want to say another thing too. Like, listen, when the Knicks played the Hawks, when Julius Randle came, that was exciting. Now Julius, he was so nervous, right? And you thought going into that next season he was going to build from that, and it was the total opposite.
Yeah.
It just went in the wrong direction. But that was exciting. The other thing that Vinny, you talk about this is substitutions and just chemistry. That's the thing with Thibodeau. I felt like with certain trades that they had, the right chemistry of players on the floor were never there. It was never the right, and he mixed and matched, and it just wasn't there. Utilizing certain players, and that was very difficult.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the whole Kemba Walker thing was a disaster. Yeah. Fournier was never the player that you thought you were going to get. So the whole free agency last year was a disaster. We'll see. Hopefully maybe Brunson will prove us wrong and become a 25-point night guy because he's going to be the only guy that can score now. Maybe he turns himself into the A player. That's the only thing I could hope for at this point. But I just think we're headed into another mediocre season with a mediocre team that's going to make us miserable. As it starts snowing here and the Jets and Giants and everybody else are out of the playoffs in week 3, and what else are we going to do around here? So,
I want to get your opinion on something. We talk about Dolan, and I know we laugh and just what's going on, but you look at the Rangers and their success. He never gets complimented on that side of the fence. Isn't that interesting? It's like, you ever think about that?
Well, they won the Stanley Cup in '94, right? That's the last time they won a cup.
But
they've been in. They were successful. They were in the finals and all that stuff. But again, you talk to Ranger fans, they'll tell you the same thing.
Not as harsh as the Knicks fans, though.
No, of course not.
That's what I'm trying to say, deservingly so.
Yeah, and again, the New York is a very, very, strange city in that the Knicks are probably, one of the top drawers of anything all the time, even when they're bad, right? Which is very strange. But they're very well loved, and there's a lot of animosity and but people go to the games. The Garden has always got
Always.
And then when they like you said, when they win a big game, make a run, there's nothing louder than that place.
When the Garden's electric, it is nothing like it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. But you're right. But at the same time, they're not going to give him any credit. He's not going to get any credit. It's like I don't think he cares. It's like the Wilpons, right? They put a good team on the field in this year, and they did this and that. They went to the World Series against the Royals, but all anybody want to talk about is they didn't spend any money. they paid Bobby Bonilla $1 million every July 1st, and it was time that they sold the team, which we'll see what Cohen's doing. I think he's putting everybody in place. It was good to see Scherzer back last night, right? 11 Ks coming back for them. Like I said, we're here, and this is, again, today's July 6th, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see where both these teams are. The Mets are 3 in the loss column right now over the Braves. So they're in first, 3 in the loss column. I like to go by the loss column.
Yeah.
And the Yankees are 13 in the loss. So the Yankees on a regular season roll right now. They're in a place where they're going to make the playoffs. The question is, are they going to have the right pieces in place to win in a short series? I was talking to my brother in regards to the Yankees in a short series, and he has some concerns when your 2 of your 3 outfielders, and I'm not considering Stanton as one of those 3 outfielders. Gallo, Judge, and Hicks. 2 of the 3 aren't really hitting. One is absolutely a total disaster, and then Hicks, just doesn't get a hit in a big situation. IKF is not a big time hitter in certain situations. Donaldson has not had a good season. So you look at all that, and the catchers are hitting, but again, they're not guys you count on. So his concern in a short series with those guys, and if Judge or Stanton and Torres or LeMahieu or Rizzo, those guys don't hit, you don't have the other outfielder, the other player down low in the lineup right now that makes you think that 7, 8, 9 is not an automatic out. So will the Yankees make a move to do that? For the Mets, which, DeGrom needs to come back. Yeah. And he needs to show he's going to stay healthy for the season. I think that's a big thing. What you have to realize is DeGrom not only has been out for a year, he also had some health issues in prior seasons. He's a guy that hasn't shown 100% health. But this is a team, again, 19 games over 500, playing really good baseball. We're basically at the halfway point. They're on pace for 100 games, 100 wins. Yankees are on pace for 116. I would reduce the Yankees a little bit. I would say, the Mets are probably at a pretty good pace, 98, 99 wins, 100, somewhere in there. I think these are 2 teams that can win 100 games. And I think a Subway Series is still on the bucket. I know it's going to be hard with the Dodgers, and it's going to be hard with the Astros. Those are 2 teams that I think that's where you're going to have to go through to make it to the World Series for both New York teams. And then, it could be a very interesting October here in New York, and that's what I'm hoping for. But again, a lot of work to be done, a long season to go. But we're doing good. July 6th, like I said, I wanted, no swoons, right? Everyone talked about the swoons, no swoons. We're good, and everything's awesome right now. So I'm enjoying it. How about you? You enjoying everything?
Listen, how can I not enjoy it when I speak about the Knicks, Vinny? Like this puts a big smile on my face.
Absolutely true.
So it's been great. Both teams, and you're absolutely. Scherzer came back the other night, pitched great. And again, one of my friends who's a Mets fan was just like, he was a little nervous, and I just said, you were without DeGrom and Scherzer, your 2 top pitchers. You were able to win like that, so you just gotta take a deep breath, like. Even the Yankees right now with Judge, he's in a little slump, but that happens in baseball. It's a 162-game season. You can't get upset about it. These teams both know how to win. They will get out of it. They've played great, and I'm still hoping for that Subway Series. I am. And you know what? Just going back with the Yankees, who I'm so happy that they got was Carpenter. I love watching him. I love him. I really do.
I'd still like to see it in platoon situation with him and Donaldson a little more.
Yeah,
because I think it'll help Donaldson to hit more against lefties, and him hit against righties. I know Rizzo had a little bit of little back ailment last night, so they couldn't really mix and match the way that they like to. But yeah, I really I'm hoping that they do something there. I would love for them to get one more outfielder. Really, just somebody that can at least hit the ball in situations. I mean, Gallo, guy's about 160. Think about it, 160.
What was it, like 0 for 20? It was like a crazy statistic or something.
But here was the crazy thing, and I think I sent it to you, is that when he reached the same amount of at-bats this year
right,
as he did last year as a Yankee, the numbers were almost identical. He batted 167 as a Yankee last year and was batting like 165 in the same amount of at-bats. He had a little bit more home runs and RBI last year, but the average, this guy's a 160 hitter in Yankee Stadium as a lefty. He should be able to swing himself to 200. Might as well bat 160. I mean, it's a 312-foot porch. I mean, the guy's 6'5", 240 pounds. I mean, come on. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. The more I think about it, it drives me insane. I looked at old Yankee Stadium, 1935. I was looking at a picture of it. It looked like a giant freaking tunnel to hit the ball to left center, right? DiMaggio hit 360 career home runs as a Yankee when left center was 460 feet. The guy, how he even hit one home run is beyond my knowledge. This guy, he's got a 300-foot porch. He can't hit nothing. It's insane.
I think they should put you in. You'll hit better.
I can bat 160, and they can pay me 1% of what they pay him. 1%. I'll be more than happy to bat 160. I mean, it's insane. I can't get over it. The more I look at it and the more I watch it, and then I can't believe they put him back in the lineup.
They keep putting
him
back.
Here's the crazier thing.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't really swing at bad pitches. He actually has a good eye.
Right.
He's actually swinging and missing at strikes consistently.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to be a bad hitter and swing at bad pitches and not make contact because you're swinging at bad pitches. The guy can't hit good pitches. He's not a major league hitter at this point. He's just not. And
why is Aaron Boone so indebted to him?
Well, see, that's the thing.
Like,
right?
what is that? I really want to ask that question
because
I don't understand.
The way I look at it is you look back 5 years ago, the guy hit back-to-back 40 home run seasons in Texas. He only batted like 210, 220, but he had 40 home runs. A number 9 hitter in this lineup that can hit 40 home runs and bat 220, of course you're going to play him. Of course. And they think that he can get back to that potential. But he's shown nothing.
Right, but how big of a window are you going to give?
Well, here's the thing. When you're 58 and 23, you can have
That's why the pressure is not. That's exactly right, because the pressure is not – great point. The pressure is not on him. So if they were losing –
he wouldn't be playing.
He'd be
honestly, if they were losing, he would be off the team.
Yep.
He would be either they would have designated for him assignment, which they still might do, or they put him in a package deal, whatever trade they want to make, which they still might do anyway, because he's on his last year, so he's a free agent after this year. He's making, I think it's like $9 or $10 million. We're halfway through the year, so there's only $5 million left to pay him at this point. He's going to either get designated for assignment, or he's going to be part of a package deal for them to bring in a different outfielder, another starter. They're going to do something, because Cashman always likes to do something little, to bring in somebody to help them, move on. And I think that's where they are. And I think the same thing is what the Mets need to do is bring themselves in another bat. I think sometimes they don't have a long enough lineup. They need a little more power in that lineup. They need to protect Alonso a little better. They just need something else to spark them on top of that good pitching. They use a little bullpen. Yes. Sometimes you think that the Yankees and Mets should make trades together because they can swap certain guys and all this stuff. But of course, that'll never happen at a high level. But I think if the Mets can add themselves any kind of bat, it doesn't have to be an outfielder, an infield, any kind of bat to just give them something a little more juice. Add a bullpen piece, and then you got the top two pitchers, and that doesn't matter what your 3, 4, and 5 do. They just got to fill in the blanks because when the Diamondbacks had Schilling and Randy Johnson and just rolled themselves into the World Series and rolled themselves to a title and beat the Yankees in 2001, the Mets have that same opportunity here. Just roll themselves right into a World Series and roll themselves into a win. I mean, it could definitely happen. I just like to see them get one more little piece here and there, and that's it. And I think they have that opportunity.
It's what you said for both teams. It's minor adjustments, right?
Absolutely.
Both teams are playing so well. The one thing I still so impressed with the Yankees is with the caliber of this team and the amount of wins that they have, and to have nobody that's batting 300 is pretty incredible to me because, again, different people, what's special about this team is different people step up every night. Every night you get different contributions. And if they were to, and I know it's so hard to say with that, with the amazing season that they're having, what can they be doing better? If there was a little more consistency, as you said, like you trade for an outfielder and just build that up. To me, you're golden, right? And as your brother said, how do you win in a short series with consistency, right? And that's it.
Good starting pitching. Good starting pitching.
Yep.
The Yankees, remember, they have Cole, they have Cortez, they have Montgomery. Severino. They have good starting pitching. Yep. And the Mets have good starting pitching, right? Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett. They have the guys in place, both teams. And in a short series, A pitching is going to always find a way to win it out. It was very interesting last night. I was watching the Yankee game. The trivia question was Stanton became the 7th player to hit 100 home runs as a Yankee and 150 home runs with another team. So the other guys are Reggie Jackson, Giambi, Teixeira, A-Rod.
Okay.
What was the other? Alfonso Soriano. Is that 5 I named or 6?
I think.
Oh, and Dave Winfield. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny, Soriano was the only guy out of those 7 guys that actually hit the more home runs when he left the Yankees, where the other guys, already had the home runs and then came to the Yankees. So, interesting. It was an interesting trivia question. So, I like those kind of questions. Makes you think.
Yeah, it sure does.
Maybe one day Mr. Jackson will answer my message and we can have him on.
I'd love to hear just, something that's always interesting about him is just when the Yankees traded him in '82 to the Angels, what that was like for him, right? Because he was such a big part of their championships.
I think he was a free agent. I don't think they traded him. I think they
was a free agent. I would just love to hear that story of just going playing there and just what that was like. And it's really interesting.
Yeah, because what's funny is that he played 77 to 81, like you said, right? Those 5 years, and that was it. And he had monster years earlier in his career.
Right.
With the A's, and then he continued to play pretty decent with the Angels. His career was really like over after.
I realized he played with Winfield for a year too. He did.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons they got rid of him is they really replaced him with Winfield.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you talk about him, he's a Yankee, right? No one mentions that he was an athletic. And
no one talks about that, or Angel. No.
Yeah, and he won 3 World Series with the A's.
Right.
You know,
isn't that interesting?
He won 5 World Series in 7 years. You know, I mean, the guy is one of the ultimate winners and won World Series MVP with both teams. So, yeah. I mean, he's one of the most legendary. You know, that's why he's Mr. October, right? He's one of the most legendary World Series players, Hall of Famer, interesting guys. You know, in the history of baseball. You know, in today's game, I think he'd be tweeting and saying things that would drive people nuts because he would just say it in the media, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm the straw that makes that stirs the drink. You know, he pissed the entire locker room off and everything. You know, but hey, that was his personality. You know, it was. They show the fight with him and Billy Martin in Fenway. You know, that was
something else when he grabbed him out. When he grabbed him out of the outfit, it was
he yanked him out of the game. He thought he wasn't hustling.
That's great stories.
Nuts.
Great stories.
Yeah, I mean that would be like the kind of stuff to talk to him about. But we'll see. You know, maybe after our announcement, or a little later this week, and where we're going, we'll have some opportunities to bring on some
absolutely
more things. But we'll get into that with everyone. But yeah, I just realized that we've hit our 1 hour mark. We're done.
It was quick.
Well, I think we're done. Are we done?
We're done.
So I want to thank. We have Vincent Felice and Corey there that threw some questions up.
Thank you, guys.
We hope that moving forward we'll get more of those kind of Q&As from people. We're gonna have we want to try to interact with you guys a lot more. We know football season's coming where it's our big topics, things that we're going to really talk about. We can't wait to talk to you guys about DraftKings, parlays, fantasy football, best bets, sit 'em, start 'em in fantasy, whatever else. I mean, we're going to do all this stuff come in the next couple months. So we're really excited about where the show's going, where it's going to be. And so thank everybody that's constantly tuned into us. All the nice hits we're getting on our video channels now that we've seen. Thank you for everybody watching our old shows and their new shows. We know we sucked ass when we first started, but we think we've gotten better. I think we could still get better, and we're going to continue to work on getting better. And again, thanks everybody for everything. Mike, anything else on your end?
I mean, what you said was said perfectly. Like, couldn't thank everybody enough. I mean, that's what we do. We talk sports. I mean, what better thing is to do? And people tune in to really get a break from the reality of the world and just tune in to hear great sports talk and comedy. And that's what we provide. So we love doing it. We love your questions. And like I said, we look forward to telling you what the future of the show is. We're so excited. And yeah, Vinny, looking forward to it for sure.
All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.